National Electrical Code Section 404.8 addresses the placement of receptacles in habitable rooms. It is important to understand these requirements to ensure electrical safety and code compliance. Let's delve into the specifics of this section. Section 404.8 A general subsection 1 dwelling units outlines that receptacles shall be installed in habitable rooms according to the following guidelines. Firstly, subsection A states that receptacles must be placed within 12 inches of the floor along the wall line on all walls where the measured horizontal distance between the required receptacle outlets is more than 6 feet. Secondly, subsection B specifies that receptacles must be installed above the floor at least 15 inches and not more than 20 inches, measured vertically from the top of the floor to the receptacle outlet. Note that the maximum height can be increased by the thickness of the floor covering. Thirdly, subsection C mandates that receptacles should not be more than 4 feet apart, measured horizontally along the wall line. Now, let's consider the exceptions to section 404.8a. Exception 2 states that where permanent provisions for the attachment of a luminaire or appliance are provided at or within 2 feet of the floor, such as wall-mounted luminaires, no receptacle outlet is required. Exception 2 B indicates that where receptacles are located over 5 feet 6 inches above the floor, such as receptacles installed within cabinetry or behind appliances, no additional receptacle outlets are required within the 0 to 2 feet height dimension. Exception 2 C clarifies that floor receptacle outlets are not required in hallways. It's crucial to address a common misunderstanding regarding receptacle placement, particularly concerning areas behind doors. The National Electrical Code does not provide an exception for areas behind doors when determining receptacle spacing. The notion that a receptacle behind a door does not count towards meeting the 6-foot spacing requirement is incorrect. Now let's consider specific examples. If there is a short wall behind an open door, a receptacle must be installed on that wall unless an exception applies. For example, if a wall-mounted luminaire or appliance is provided within 2 feet of the floor, a receptacle is not required. Also, if there's a small wall over 2 feet with no outlet and not behind an open door, a receptacle must be installed on this wall as it exceeds the 6-foot spacing requirement. The relevant sections of the National Electrical Code to reference are 404.8a near and C. There is no specific reference in the National Electrical Code that states that a receptacle behind a door does not count towards the 6-foot spacing requirement. It's essential to adhere to these code requirements to ensure electrical safety and avoid potential violations during inspections. Understanding these guidelines will help in properly placing receptacles in habitable rooms. The intent of the receptacle spacing requirements in the National Electrical Code is to ensure that occupants can easily access electrical power without relying on extension cords, which can create safety hazards. The 6-foot rule is designed to minimize the use of extension cords by ensuring that a receptacle is always within reach. When planning receptacle placement, consider the furniture layout and potential uses of each room. Place receptacles where they will be most convenient for plugging in lamps, appliances, and electronic devices. In living rooms and bedrooms, consider placing receptacles near seating areas and bedside tables. In kitchens, place receptacles above countertops to accommodate small appliances. When installing receptacles, use the correct wiring methods and materials. Ensure that all connections are tight and secure. Grounding is essential for safety, so make sure that all receptacles are properly grounded. It's also important to protect receptacles with ground fault circuit interrupters, or GFCIs, in areas where there is a risk of moisture, such as bathrooms, kitchens, and outdoor locations. GFCIs can detect ground faults and quickly shut off power to prevent electric shock. The National Electrical Code is updated regularly to reflect changes in technology and safety standards. It's important to stay up to date on the latest requirements. Consult the most recent edition of the National Electrical Code for the most accurate and complete information. If you're not sure how to interpret or apply the National Electrical Code requirements, consult with a qualified electrician. A licensed electrician can help you ensure that your electrical system is safe and compliant with all applicable codes. Remember that electrical work can be dangerous, so it's always best to leave it to the professionals. Attempting to do electrical work yourself without the proper training and experience can lead to serious injury or even death. In addition to the receptacle spacing requirements, the National Electrical Code also addresses other aspects of receptacle installation, such as the type of receptacle to use, the mounting height, and the location of receptacles relative to other objects. Make sure to consult the National Electrical Code for all applicable requirements. When choosing receptacles, select those that are listed by a recognized testing laboratory, such as Underwriters Laboratories or all. Listed receptacles have been tested to meet safety standards and are more likely to perform reliably. The National Electrical Code also specifies the minimum size of conductors to use for receptacle circuits. Make sure to use conductors that are large enough to handle the anticipated load. Overloaded circuits can overheat and cause fires. It's also important to protect conductors with overcurrent protection devices, such as circuit breakers or fuses. Overcurrent protection devices will trip or blow if the circuit is overloaded, preventing damage to the wiring and reducing the risk of fire. When installing receptacles in damp or wet locations, use weatherproof receptacles and covers. Weatherproof receptacles and covers are designed to protect the receptacle from moisture and prevent corrosion. It's also important to properly seal any openings in the wall or ceiling around the receptacle to prevent moisture from entering. The National Electrical Code also addresses the installation of receptacles in hazardous locations, such as areas where flammable materials are present. Receptacles in hazardous locations must be explosion-proof and designed to prevent sparks or arcs from igniting the flammable materials. The National Electrical Code is a complex and comprehensive document, so it's important to take the time to understand it. By following the National Electrical Code requirements, you can help ensure the safety of your electrical system and protect yourself and your family from electrical hazards. Keep in mind that local codes may also apply, so it's important to check with your local building department to determine the specific requirements in your area. Local codes may be more stringent than the National Electrical Code in some cases. Furthermore, always ensure you have the appropriate permits before starting any electrical work. Permits help ensure that the work is inspected and meets code requirements. When working with electricity, always follow safe work practices. Turn off the power to the circuit before working on any electrical components. Use insulated tools and wear appropriate personal protective equipment, such as safety glasses and gloves. Never work on electrical equipment when you are wet or standing in water. If you are unsure about any aspect of electrical safety, consult with a qualified electrician. Electrical safety is not something to take lightly. Understanding the National Electrical Code requirements for receptacle placement is essential for ensuring electrical safety in your home. By following these guidelines, you can create a safe and convenient electrical system for yourself and your family. Always prioritize safety and consult with qualified professionals when needed. National Electrical Code Section 210.52 discusses dwelling unit receptacle placement. The general rule is that receptacles should be placed so that no point along the wall line is more than 6 feet from a receptacle. This is often referred to as the 6-foot rule. The purpose of this rule is to minimize the use of extension cords, which can be a fire hazard. There are some exceptions to the 6-foot rule. One exception is for doorways. Receptacles are not required within 2 feet of a doorway. Another exception is for windows. Receptacles are not required within 2 feet of a window. The 6-foot rule only applies to wall space. It does not apply to floor space. Receptacles are not required in hallways. However, it is often a good idea to place receptacles in hallways for convenience. This 6-foot rule also applies to kitchen countertops. Receptacles should be placed so that no point along the countertop is more than 2 feet from a receptacle. This is often referred to as the 2-foot rule. The 2-foot rule also applies to kitchen islands and peninsulas. Receptacles should be placed so that no point along the island or peninsula is more than 2 feet from a receptacle. Receptacles are not required behind appliances, such as refrigerators or stoves. However, it is often a good idea to place a receptacle behind the appliance for convenience. Receptacles should be placed at least 12 inches above the floor. This is to prevent water from splashing on the receptacles. Receptacles should be placed at least 6 inches away from any plumbing fixtures. This is to prevent water from dripping on the receptacles. Receptacles should be placed at least 3 feet away from any heating vents. This is to prevent the receptacles from overheating. Receptacles should be placed at least 6 feet away from any gas meters. This is to prevent the receptacles from being damaged by the gas meter. Receptacles should be placed at least 10 feet away from any swimming pools. This is to prevent the receptacles from being splashed by the pool water. Receptacles should be placed at least 12 inches away from any light fixtures. This is to prevent the receptacles from being damaged by the light fixture. Receptacles should be placed at least 18 inches away from any electrical panels. This is to prevent the receptacles from being damaged by the electrical panel. Receptacles should be placed at least 24 inches away from any water heaters. This is to prevent the receptacles from being damaged by the water heater. Receptacles should be placed at least 36 inches away from any furnaces. This is to prevent the receptacles from being damaged by the furnace. The National Electrical Code requires that all receptacles be grounded. Grounding is a safety measure that helps to prevent electric shock. Receptacles should be grounded to a metal water pipe or to a ground rod. The National Electrical Code also requires that all receptacles be protected by a ground fault circuit interrupter, or GFCI. A GFCI is a safety device that helps to prevent electric shock. GFCIs are required in bathrooms, kitchens, and outdoor locations. The National Electrical Code is a complex set of rules. It is important to consult the National Electrical Code before doing any electrical work. This information is intended as a guide and is not a substitute for consulting the National Electrical Code or a qualified electrician.